Hello, I'm Bill Dunkley. Today is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, and this is the news. Donald Trump says he won't sign the pledge required to participate in next week's presidential debate, but his rivals are actively preparing as if he will be on stage for the GOP's first 2024 presidential debate next week. Former Vice President Mike Pence is hosting mock debate sessions with someone playing the part of the former president. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has participated in weekly sessions with an eye toward drawing clear contrasts with Trump. Nikki Haley, the former ambassador to the United Nations, is planning to show that she can stand up to bullies. In all, 8 Republican candidates, including Trump, have met the fundraising and polling thresholds required to qualify for the debate. Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago property manager, Carlos de Oliveira, has pleaded not guilty to scheming with Trump to try to delete security footage sought by investigators probing the former president's hoarding of classified documents. An attorney for de Oliveira entered the plea on his behalf during a brief hearing in the federal court in Fort Pierce, Florida. The case brought by special counsel Jack Smith accuses Trump of illegally keeping top secret records at his Florida club and thwarting government efforts to retrieve them. De Oliveira and his attorney walked out of the courthouse without speaking to reporters. Trump and his valet, Walt Nauta, have also pleaded not guilty. Russia's central bank has made a big interest rate hike in an emergency move designed to fight inflation and strengthen the ruble. This week, the country's currency reached its lowest value since early in the war with Ukraine. The decision Tuesday comes as Moscow increases military spending and Western sanctions weigh on its energy exports. That has dragged down the ruble. Analysts say the flagging currency doesn't mean the Russian economy is in freefall, though it is facing challenges, including rising prices for households and businesses. A lower exchange rate allows Moscow to transfer the dollars it earns from selling oil and natural gas into more rubles to pay pensions and run government agencies. Russian forces have unleashed a barrage of missiles on regions across Ukraine, killing civilians and damaging infrastructure. The barrage came as Moscow's war on its neighbor nears the 18-month mark, and just hours before top Russian military officials and their counterparts from Asia, the Middle East, and Africa gathered outside of Moscow for a security conference. The fighting in Ukraine is likely to dominate the meeting's agenda. The Ukrainian Air Force says that Russia fired a total of 28 cruise missiles at the country early on Tuesday. 16 of them were intercepted. Damage has been reported in the regions of Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Volyn, Dnipropetrovsk, Cherkasy, Zaporizhzhia, Dnipro, and Donetsk. The mother of a 6-year-old who shot his teacher in Virginia pleaded guilty on Tuesday to a charge of felony child neglect, 7 months after her son used her handgun to critically wound the educator in a classroom full of students. Prosecutors agreed to drop the misdemeanor charge of reckless storage of a firearm against Deja Taylor. As part of the plea agreement, prosecutors say they won't seek a sentence that's longer than state sentencing guidelines, which call for 6 months in jail or prison. The January shooting shocked the nation and roiled this shipbuilding city near the Chesapeake Bay. The case against Taylor is one of 3 legal efforts seeking accountability, including the teacher's $40 million lawsuit that accuses the school system of gross negligence. The chief Taliban spokesman says that the Taliban view their rule of Afghanistan as open-ended, drawing legitimacy from Islamic law and facing no significant threat. He spoke in an interview with the Associated Press on the eve of Tuesday's 2nd anniversary of the Taliban takeover of the country. He also suggested a ban on female education will remain in place. The ban was the first in a flurry of restrictions that keep Afghan girls and women from classrooms, most jobs, and much of public life. The Taliban seized power in 2021 as U.S. and NATO forces withdrew after 2 decades of war. An ancient Holy Land mosaic, inscribed with an early reference to Jesus as God, is at the center of a controversy that has riled archaeologists. Should the centuries-old decorated floor, located near the prophesied site of Armageddon, be uprooted and loaned to a U.S. museum that has been criticized for past acquisition practices? Israeli officials are considering just that. The proposed loan to the Museum of the Bible in Washington also underscores the deepening ties between Israel and evangelical Christians in the U.S., whom Israel has come to count on for political support, tourism dollars, and other benefits. The 4th indictment of former President Donald Trump may be the most sweeping yet. The 98-page document approved by a Fulton County grand jury on Monday charges Trump and 18 other defendants with taking part in a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 presidential election. That makes it even wider-ranging than the federal indictment for similar activities earlier this month. Like that federal indictment, this one is likely to be challenged by Trump's legal team as a violation of his First Amendment rights. Procedural problems on Monday gave Trump an opening to challenge the indictment as politically motivated. But his legal bills are mounting. Wildfires devastated parts of Maui in Hawaii last week, leaving a trail of destruction and devastation, decimating a historic town. While many still wait in agony for news on whether their friends and family are safe, more than 100 people have been pronounced dead. That means it's the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than 100 years. Those who died included a family of 4, a beloved sister, and a 79-year-old musician who lived at a senior housing facility. Waiting lists for gender-affirming health care are growing in states that declared themselves refugees for transgender people as bans. No such care for minors take effect around the country. One of the largest states, Texas, has a ban that's supposed to take effect September 1st. That's contingent on a court hearing this week. It's not clear how much more lawmakers and government officials in refuge states can do to help build a network to serve more trans patients. The quest for gender-affirming care parallels abortion access in many ways, but gender-affirming care treatments are ongoing, so permanent access is key. That's been your today. Thanks again for joining us at the Dunkley Report.